What was the last decision you made? Maybe coming here, choosing who to come with, choosing your seat. In the past week, now look a bit back now. What was the last decision you made the last week? Maybe going to get some pizza with your friends, planning something with your family, something in your work, in your school. Now I invite you to stop and think about your whole life. What's a big decision you made? What's one big decision? Think. Could have been deciding where to go to college, deciding on a job, where to live, who your friends are going to be. Every single one of us makes these sort of big decisions at some point in their lives. And in those moments where we're at this crossroads, should I go to this university, to that one? Should I choose this job, another? It can become overwhelming and quickly anxiety-producing. So what should we do? What's that simple framework that whenever we face these difficult moments of decision-making, what's the simple framework that'll help us all the time? I don't know, really. To come up here and tell you that I know the formula, the pros and cons, the perfect pro and cons list to help you in those moments, it's a little bit pretentious, right? But there's a game of cultural and historical importance that can really teach us something. Chess. Now, chess might be somewhat intimidating to you. It definitely is for me. I think the first thing you learn as you start playing chess is that it's an extremely difficult game, and that's intimidating. There's too many pieces, variations, your opponent's plans, my plans, time pressure, competition. But the more you play, you realize that there's a lot to learn from it, because precisely that complexity allows us to learn a lot in our lives, because our lives, you can probably guess, aren't easy either, right? So let's recall, what is chess? Imagine a battle. It's nothing more than that. Two sides, one guy with the white pieces and a guy with the black pieces. They each take turns focused on checkmating the other's king. To checkmate is to attack their king and for them to not be able to defend it. Now, what's key about this game is that it's simply a game of decision-making. Every time it's your turn, making a move, it's making a decision. So let's jump back into this topic of decision-making. We've all, sometime in our lives, used some sort of framework to guide ourselves. If I asked you what makes a decision good, you probably could come up with an answer, right? And the very natural one is to say, well, a good action is one that leads to good consequences. It's very natural, pretty logical, pretty straightforward. Some example of this might look as follows. I'll go to that party because tomorrow I'll be glad I went. Or I should study for this test because I'll get a better grade. Or I should go to the gym because I'll get stronger, right? This sort of tying a present action to a future consequence is a very natural way to think. And the same occurs in chess. In this position, if I move my queen to g7, I can simply predict the consequence that I'll win. It'll be checkmate. I'll checkmate the black queen, and I'll be pretty happy. But is it really that simple? Is chess always just about the position where you have one move to checkmate the other king? Let's look at this position. This is a game played between two Russian grandmasters. Between two Russian grandmasters for the World Chess Championship match. And you don't have to be an expert in chess to realize that the kings are in the middle of the board, the pieces are scattered, and simply it's not as simple. Here you start looking at variations, which plan should I follow, which move is the best. The mind of these players looks something as follows. This is not an exaggeration. They're trying to calculate variations, moves. But in this complex position, once they start looking 5 moves into the future, 10, it simply becomes impossible. They must rely on strategy, on pattern recognition, on things beyond straightforward predicting the consequence. And the same happens in our lives. In that moment when you're choosing between jobs, do you really know what's going to happen 5 years in advance? When you're choosing a university, sure, you might predict the first year of the university somewhat, but the next 5 years, 10 years, your career might change. In those complex situations, my point is, we simply can't rely on predicting the consequences. So, if in this moment we're trying to rely on consequences, but we can't predict the future, then what's the other side of the coin? Intentions. let's focus on the present, right? If I can't see the future, let's focus on what I can control right now. How many times have you heard someone say, my intentions were good? It seems a pretty logical way to justify your actions. But let's imagine a real scenario. Let's say you're working in a group project at school or at work, and somebody starts being a little bit aggressive, maybe disrespectful, and you bring that up to their attention, and you tell them, be respectful, be a collaborative teammate. And they tell you, oh, but my intention was to be a strong leader. Do you think that cuts it? Well, let's see how intentions hold up in chess. This is a game I played against a club teammate for a practice match. Pretty standard game, nothing too weird, and my move, moving my bishop, my intention for this move was to simply attack their queen. Straightforward, I'm attacking a piece, I'm getting some tempo, I'm getting some activity, all seems straightforward, right? Well, upon further examination of this position, I would have realized that their bishop is attacking my knight. And after they capture it, my position is crumbled. My simple intention, which was just to attack their queen and continue the game, completely misled me. I was being attacked, my queen is being attacked, my bishop is being attacked, and in the next 5 moves, I resigned the game and lost pretty badly. So it seems that intentions don't really capture the full picture, right? They capture some of it. It's important to examine them, to know if we're down a good path, if we have good intentions, but they don't help us completely. So what now, right? If consequences, trying to go into the future, were unhelpful, we don't know the future, and intentions don't really capture the full picture of a decision, well, in that moment is where principles help us. I'm sure that someone here, you can please, with principles, right? You've probably heard of some set of them when it comes, for example, to the 10 commandments of the Bible, right? A very strict set of principles that are supposed to tell you, do this, don't do that. And they're very helpful, right? I mean, if you're deciding between 2 tough choices, then you should choose one that aligns more with these principles. It doesn't have to be as strict as the 10 commandments. It can be as some sort of values you hold. For example, always be honest, be responsible, be caring. You can simply decide which decision aligns more with these principles. Well, this is very important in chess strategy, because chess strategy is all about this, principles. But a very curious and very interesting component of chess strategy is that a key component of it is to learn when to break it. When you're following a rule, chess, as we've already covered, is very complex. It would be too simple of a game if there's a straightforward set of rules that you can always follow. So let's look at an example. A general principle that would be pretty common is to say that bishops are better than knights. I mean, a bishop pair having the 2 bishops is very strong, and the bishop has more range. In the end games, it can be more useful. So it's a very general way to learn to just, your bishop is better than a knight. Well, does that hold up? Is that rule always true? Let's look at this game, played between 2 Russian grandmasters for the Soviet Union Championship. Our bishop is attacking their knight, as you can see. Pretty straightforward, but we probably shouldn't take it, right? Our bishop is better, has a better diagonals maybe. It's better. It would in no way be possible for me to capture it and argue that it's a good move. Well, this Russian grandmaster determines that it's the best move in the position and captures it. The reason is that if we examine closely, after it's recaptured, it liberates the d5 square for our own knight, which is now an extremely aggressive and useful piece in the rest of the game. The specifics of this decision are irrelevant. What we must take away is that a rule simply didn't help us. A key component of chess strategy is to learn when to break it. So in life, do you think a principle, for example, always be honest, do you really think you're always honest? Do you think always 100% honesty is the best thing? That's a question for yourselves. But these principles have to be argued. They have to be analyzed. They're not as simple. Let's look at this quote from chess strategist Ludwig Bachmann. He explains just this. Just as in nature, in human society, in human thought, so too in chess, complications occur that are beyond the scope of simple logical laws. He seems to be onto something, right? So what? Consequences, we can't predict the future. Intentions, they don't really capture the full picture. And principles, I mean, if sometimes we have to break them, then what help are they? I mean, they might be able to guide us, but they're not the entirety of it. It seems very complex, right? It is. It is very complex. The first thing you learn, as I told you in your first chess lesson, is that it's an extremely difficult game. The same goes in life. If 32 pieces on the 64 square board are capable of prompting extremely difficult decision-making situations, we shouldn't expect life to be any different. When considering that job, when considering that university, don't try to simplify it into a set of consequences and predicting the future. Go beyond that. From this complexity, we can derive our second lesson from chess. There truly is no best move. Former world chess champion Garry Kasparov explains that in almost every single one of his games, he reaches a point where he's deciding between 2 or 3 moves. He's already calculated everything, seen the future as far as he could, relied on strategy, and even beyond all that, he is undecisive. One might be a little bit more aggressive, one might be a little bit more passive, but he simply doesn't know. There's no best move. In that moment, he must rely on his instincts, on his creativity and intuition. In life as well, when you have 2 decisions that seem extremely comparable to one another, that people tell you, oh, but there's no way to go wrong, but then you're asking yourself, then which one should I choose? Then in those moments, it's beyond strategy, it's beyond principles. And it's simply just that, there's no best move. So in a few weeks, in a month maybe, you might make a big decision, make some plans, something at work or at school, and you might recall this TED Talk, and you'll say, well, this guy just told me that it's too complex and that there's no best move. Completely unhelpful, right? Well, that's where the third lesson comes in. Bravery. In that moment, Kasparov explains, where he's deciding between moves, the thing that makes or breaks him is bravery. He's brave. He's not afraid of making that risky decision. He's not afraid of being slightly aggressive. Likewise, in life, we shouldn't be afraid of going into the unknown. We shouldn't be afraid of a future we can't predict. Number 2 in the world for a long time, Hikaru Nakamura, when asked what made him good at chess, he didn't say that he could look at 20 moves in the future. He said that he's not afraid of making mistakes. For this reason, I invite you to not stay stuck in the consequences. Don't stay stuck in being perfect. Don't take that pressure off of always being correct. And above all, be brave. Thank you very much.